She's the founder and CEO of DViO Digital, and the title of the case study is Application of AI and Tech in Marketing. Over to you.
Okay, good morning everyone. So, do I have the pointer? Okay, just. Awesome. So, before I begin, I think I just want to give you a quick context for what qualifies me to speak about this. So, I've been running DViO. We are one of the largest independent digital first marketing companies, primarily focusing in marketing, of course, AI, tech, data and analytics. Okay, so we're working in over 6 markets between India and Middle East and Southeast Asia. And the ecosystem for us has looked something like this, right? So there are a bunch of clients that we work with. We are sector agnostic, working across multiple large B2C businesses. And we began an incubator. We started an incubator about 7 years ago, primarily in AI, Web3, AdTech and MarTech, okay? So we've now about 18 companies in the incubator working across these domains. And our idea was always to take some of these very, very interesting technology platforms and marry them, you know, contextually with the clients that we're working with. And find some real business use cases, right? So many of these things that come up as sort of fads, you know, you create applications which become PR worthy and then it sort of dies off, right, without seeing some serious value. So our goal really has been to find serious business value which improves the bottom line, can create real business impact, and that's sort of what the incubator has been doing with the clients that we are working with, right? So like I mentioned, the incubating companies are in AI, ML, content tech, video tech, a lot of work that we're doing in metaverse, Web3, so on and so forth. And we've been doing this across multiple markets. And the way I see it, folks, is that our future is going to be defined by these 4 things. Okay, so there is AI and big data, of course, which there's a lot of talk about right now. I mean, there's not one single day. The news just doesn't seem to die down on AI. There's metaverse, and I will not be able to focus on all, though they have some very, very interesting applications around these. Blockchain and NFTs and digital currency. Okay, so some of the other areas, you know, are still perhaps in a bit of a gray with respect to political scenarios, government, so on and so forth. And therefore, I will not touch upon those, though I have a very, very strong sort of belief in where some of these technologies are going. But I'm going to double click on AI and application of AI and tech in marketing. Clearly the new beast in town, again, the chatter really around whether, you know, it's going to make human beings redundant, thinking redundant, so on and so forth. You know, are we losing jobs? You know, there's some numbers that are floating around how many jobs we are likely to lose. Now, the reason why there is so much of perhaps uncertainty around how AI is going to impact the many fields of jobs that we are all engaged in is because we don't understand AI enough. It's like a mountain without a top, okay? So the more you do, the more you can do with it, and that makes it very difficult to understand. And therefore, there's this fear. What you don't understand, you tend to fear, right? Some of our incubating companies have been working with us in machine learning and AI for the last 7 years, right? So even long before OpenAI. And therefore, it was very, very easy for us to embrace AI and figure out what it's going to mean for marketing as on today. You know, the way I look at AI is that there are about thousands of tools, literally, as we speak today, coming out every week, right? In creativity, in productivity, in design, and you know, so on and so forth. While prompt engineering, as you know it, right? So everyone's familiar with the word prompt engineering, right? So prompt engineering, as you know it, is going to make all the difference in the way we are able to use and leverage these AI tools. I also see that it's perhaps that moment in history when we are going to have 7 billion ways, we're going to have access to 7 billion ways of thinking technically at the click of a button, right? So in essence, what it's doing is that there may be so many different creative thoughts, creative ways of thinking, different ways of thinking. It's all coming together in some way which makes sense, right? while that's sort of, you know, going to take human race, human development to another level, and like I usually say that we're standing at a very interesting point in history because that's never been possible before. But I'm going to come down to some really everyday use cases of AI. You know, how can we use it in our daily business? And this is some interesting ways in which we've been using it. So base case is that it's improving efficiency and removing redundancy, right? So if you guys are marketers working with brands, so on and so forth, I'm going to give you some real life use cases that can be applied today, because there's a lot of talk that's about the future, how it can be used, what is likely to happen, so on and so forth, right? So one is efficiency and redundancy. Second is fundamental to anything to do with data is AI is data, right? Foundational is data. Most businesses still don't have any structured data that they're operating with, right? So if you have any level of data, you can overlay it with AI. And production time, folks, as a marketing company, I can tell you, has gone down for us, in some cases, by 90% because of use of AI, right? So quick example of how we've been able to use it. We work with a bunch of sporting leagues. And what happens when we engage with some of these sporting leagues, and in this case, it's a league called as World Tennis League, which happens yearly in the Middle East, is we have to shoot the players for every season, right? There are new shots that, you know, we need to do photo shoots with the players. Typically, when we want to do joint photo shoots, dates are not available, yeah? And then even after the dates are available and the shoots are done, our biggest challenge is that it needs to go back to the managers for approval, you know, and that whole cycle takes a fairly long time for us to go to market. And when we take stock images, of course, there are rights issues. And some of these players are, you know, either Adidas or Nike, or, you know, they have some of these brand endorsements which we cannot use when we are working with the league. So there are some restrictions around it. So what we did was essentially we used AI to create all kinds of mood boards and you know, images that we needed. And that's sort of the output that we were able to receive. So all the creative production for the World Tennis League, which is live right now, the matches are happening around December, end of December. You can go and check every media channel, every piece of creative is done by AI in this case, right? And what it's able to do for us, all of this is produced by AI, yeah? So what it's able to do for us is typically what used to take us almost 30 days to go to market whenever we started working with these leagues, has brought it down to 2 days. Moving this forward, again, digital first content, typically production time budgets are limited. You want to create valuable content at scale. All we had to do in this case is really feed in a script into the system for us to get a voiceover. So again, this is an AI voiceover with a song, with music, with all of that coming in. And a good part of the script is also AI. Yeah. So what I'm trying to do here is actually bring together a bunch of use cases and case studies instead of speaking on one, so that you're able to appreciate the entire range of applications that we can see. Now this is one of the largest healthcare providers, again based in the Middle East, and they have hospitals, they have pharmacies. Okay, appreciate this. So in the sense, they have hospitals, they have multiple hospitals. They have the largest pharmacy network in UAE. They have online platforms like which is called My Aster and Aster Online, which is like Tata MG and NetMeds over here. And this is sort of the ecosystem that we are working with, right? These are all the brands that we are working with. Now what we've been able to do is, because we were able to create appropriate data lakes and data structures, we could get access to very interesting cross-pollination of business between all these brands. Okay, so we had our AI engines tell us what we need to cross promote to whom. Okay, so for example, somebody bought blood sugar monitor from the online website, and we were able to show AccuCheck ads to them, and the ads that went for the hospital were for endocrinologists, right? And because of this unified view of the customer that we could get, the online channels collectively, we were able to improve the revenue by almost 100%. Okay, so that's the efficiency we were able to drive with a unified view of the customer. Moving this forward, again, simple use case of, okay, just give me, before I move that. Symphony air coolers works with thousands and thousands of distributors across India. They are the largest air cooling manufacturing company in the world from India. And what we were able to do is, again, I think close to about 10,000 distributors at a click of a button, though they had a base video, which is, you must have seen this television commercial. So 10,000 of these creatives were made specifically with the distributor details and address. Again, all of this at a click of a button. Okay, so all we had to feed it was the names of the distributors, and every distributor got the video specific to his details, which he could then forward to his customer. So 2 use cases, over 10,000 creatives generated at the click of a button, and 2 from a media amplification or value standpoint. Every distributor was so proud to share this with his range of customers, right? So obviously creating a lot of media optimization as well. Yeah. And in another use case, how much time do I have left? Okay, cool. So I can go a little slow. So in another use case, this is for Lucknow Super Giants, the IPL team. What we did was we wanted to crowdsource the name. Okay, so Lucknow Super Giants was initially held as Rising Pune Super Giants by RPSG Group, if you guys are familiar. Then they came back to own a team, and they said we want to go out into the public and seek, you know, the name of the team, you know, what's likely to create very high affinity in a short time with the fans, right? So what we did was we of course created a, you know, landing page led gamification. Where we gave all these variables to the audiences and asked them to choose what they believe connects best with Lucknow Super Giants. Yeah, so I think the number of entries we had was close to about 1 million, and all within 4 days. And the only way we could analyze that data was, of course, machine learning and AI. And what we were able to very decisively, it's because of AI's capabilities to be able to tell you this is the most preferred color. These kind of logos seem to have the maximum affinity with the audiences, and these kind of names or words seem to have maximum affinity, right? So a fair amount of precision in terms of the recommendations that we got, which finally made it to the final name. Now these are the ways in which we are using AI and tech, building data lakes and making them useful for our clients. But beyond all of this, I think as marketers, we also need to work on building our own efficiencies, right? If this is what it can do to, for clients and our work, then how do you build consistent efficiency in the way we work? So we've recently launched DViO 1. It's an internal efficiency tool, but what it does is something quite fascinating, right? So at the click of a button, I can get access to any industry, any competition, any brand name in terms of what's happening in worldwide in my industry. 2, I can feed a brief into it, and it gives me a go-to-market strategy, gives me, you know, maybe a YouTube idea or Instagram idea, so on and so forth. And how we've been able to do it is that we've fed it over 12 years of industry-specific data that we've worked on. Okay, so there's obviously wealth of information that we have industry by industry. So we fed that in. So that's very interesting thing about AI, right? So one of the biggest challenges with AI people speak about is it's at some level from a creative aspect, it's a march to the middle, right? So most of you would have used ChatGPT, right? And you would have seen that yaar, goal ghum ke fir wo ek, you know, there's a certain pattern in which the response comes to you, right? So it's a march to the middle as we call it, right? So how do you create that uniqueness is the next biggest challenge that we need to solve for the industry, right? And what can enable us to do that is the fact that OpenAI's sort of biggest advantage and you know, large language models allow you to give feedback into generative AI allows feedback into the system, right? So because you can give it feedback, you can teach the machine about your brand. You can teach the machine your culture, right? And it's obviously a gradual process. You have to keep giving it feedback, and essentially what we're expecting to do with this is that every client will have their own dashboard wherein the machine understands very, very specifically all the brand guardrails and what it means to produce a creative output for a particular brand, right? So that's on the design part. We're using AI in very, very smart ways as co-pilots for deployment as well. And then of course data, right? Based on the strategy that it produces, how are you doing on the measurement overall? So I'm going to just sort of quickly show you a quick demo of this. So that's sort of the output on the go-to-market coming through. And I can define the market, I can define the competition, I can define the consumer insight. If I don't have the consumer insight, I can bring the consumer insight from Bard, you know, so on and so forth. So essentially what it's really doing is not replacing human beings, honestly. What it's doing is allowing me to go through the 0 to 1 journey, which I don't have to go through, you know, like from ground up, right? So it's building efficiency. Obviously we keep giving it feedback in terms of, hey, you've given us this creative output, but our final output looks like this, right? Because it can never go without manual intervention. But what we have seen is because of this, almost 30% of the work that we typically end up doing ground up is taken care of, right? So that's, and this is right now an internal efficiency tool, folks. So, you know, we'll make it public hopefully sometime the next year once we know that the machine has learned what it has to. Yeah, so that's what I have for you folks. I hope this was helpful. I tried to pack in a lot of use cases in a short while, and thank you very much. You have a question? Yes.
My name is Jeetu. First of all, thank you, Sowmya. It was nuclear charged, energetic, and contagious energy. I mean, it's so wonderful. So I just wanted to know, like, the list of the companies which you work with in your incubator. Can we search or find somewhere?
Yeah, you'll have all of them on our website.
Your website?
Yeah, yeah,
I just went through, but okay.
Yeah, they're there. They're there. Partners. You'll
That's
see
it.
them. Yeah.
Amazing, and thanks.
Yeah. Thanks. Is that good? Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Sowmya Iyer is my Instagram. Sowmya. Sowmya Iyer is my Instagram, and Sowmya Iyer, you can find me on LinkedIn as well. So I respond very, very quickly on LinkedIn. So yeah, please go ahead.
Hi, is this working?
Yeah.
So I joined the session a little late because I was in another track. Alicia. Yes. Really love the case studies. I'm a sucker for good case studies, and I really am able to understand, grasp more better when you're actually giving me examples. So I'm not sure if you covered this topic yet. Just let me know if you did, and I missed it initially. But I want to talk about AI in accessibility. Right now, accessibility is huge in marketers when it comes to content creation as well as deployment, and the model that you showed with DVO. How does it um, include accessibility when it comes to content creators and
When
marketing?
you say accessibility, what are you
Making sure that the
referring to?
content is reaching the right eyeballs and in the language that they prefer. Statistically speaking, people prefer having customer service or content that they consume in the language that they prefer, right,
Yeah,
as compared to any
yeah.
other language.
So one you mean language, you know, can
Yes.
be.
I'm talking, yeah, specifically about language in this case
Yeah.
because in the model that you showed, we
Yeah.
had the 4Ds.
Yes.
I'm wondering, does accessibility come in
Come into the
deployment?
picture. No, that's a very, very interesting question. From a deployment standpoint, we are not allowing data to sort of auto-create right now because language is still very culture and context sensitive, and I feel that the machines still have a long way to go in terms of understanding culture and context. So anything that goes out purely from a translation standpoint, though it can be enabled by AI, may not be accurate, right? But then the speed of being able to make it accessible in different languages is of course very, very high right now, and again the same efficiency principles apply in terms of translations.
Apart from obviously what DVO is coming up with, what is
Yeah.
your thought and like what is your perspective on using AI for when it comes to providing contextual language translations, and how would you as a marketer use that as a tool?
I think the machines will need to learn this, okay, and it's going to take a while because you have to keep giving it feedback, and now that's possible with generative AI. But I think it's a matter of time, really. And I think on the point of access, you know, I have something to say. I mean, you know, since you specifically mentioned about access, right? You know, I was speaking about how I feel, you know, we are really standing at a point in history where, you know, human race is going to develop like nothing before. And one of the reasons for that is I believe that with AI, we are able to create equal access like nothing else before. Now, today, somebody who has the best story to tell and not necessarily someone who has the best language skills will win, right? And when someone has a great product idea and not necessarily has the resources or the coding knowledge will win, right? So it's truly creating an environment of access according to me, and that is what is going to happen. So a lot of it is in the it's not with large corporations, it's not with people who have the money, right? A lot of access is now with people like you and me. That's what is going to change the game.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you everyone.
Thank you so much, Ms. Iyer.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, with this or without this?